I'm going to teach you how to get into Lotus Pose. That is a cross-legged traditional yoga pose with your feet, soles facing up, usually stacked on top of your thighs. So rather than tucking them underneath you, you flex the ankles through and you have your feet facing upwards. It's often a pose that most people can't get into because of poor ankle mobility, but sometimes the hips can hinder as well. So today we're going to work through some stretches to prep and get the body warm for the full pose, and then we're going to work into the variations and progressions of the pose, and hopefully a lot of you will get there. If you don't, just keep doing this video, maybe every day, every other day, and eventually your body should release and let go and allow you to get into the full posture. So whenever you're ready, you don't need anything at all, just some space on the floor, a mat if you have one, and come and join me in a kneeling position in the centre of your mats. So the first warm-up stretch we're going to do today is a foot stretch or a toe stretch. So you're going to come into this kneeling position, you're going to tuck your toes underneath your body and then sit back on your heels. So you're in this kind of toe squat position. You should feel the kind of hole underneath of your foot stretch open, as well as it being a bit uncomfortable on your toes. You're just going to sit here for a couple of breaths. 10 or so breaths is usually enough just to open up the feet. You can either kind of start to bounce back and limber in this pose, or you could use your time wisely and just maybe stretch off your arms with a couple of cross-body stretches, maybe even a tricep stretch or two. So maybe let's today just do a tricep stretch for 3 breaths on each side. Seeing as we've been sat here on the toes for a little while. Last deep breath all the way in on this side. Exhale, release, and then switch over. If you need to, you can always just lift, shake the toes out and reset. Coming back into that tricep stretch on the other side, just pulling back on that shoulder. Last deep breath all the way in. Exhale and release. So we're going to then come back. So untuck the toes, release them, shake the feet off. We're then going to come back into an ankle stretch. So sitting on our heels still, you're just going to lean all the way back. So hands can go behind you, or you can just place them by your thighs, I guess, and just lift the ankles off the knees off the floor. So you're stretching into the front of the ankles. We're just going to mobilize this first by lifting and lowering, just pulling back till you find that stretch, tucking those knees up towards the chest. Just a couple more of these. One more, and then relax. From here, we're going to see if we can just hold in that position at the top. So option 1, see if you can just lift onto your heels, so sit back onto your heels, keep your chest nice and lifted, and maybe you take your right hand to your knee. Hold for a few breaths, and then switch over and take your left hand to the knee. If you can, why not challenge yourself and see if you can take both hands to both knees and keep lifting those ankles up, keep that chest nice and lifted. Try not to lean back too far. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale, release, slowly lower yourself all the way down. From here, we're going to come into garland pose to flex the ankles the other way. So maybe just give them a quick rotation, shake them out, and then we're going to come into our garland position. So your feet are going to go slightly wider than squat stance, and maybe point your toes outwards. Ideally, we want to eventually get our toes all the way facing forwards, but most people, the mobility means that your toes are pointing outwards. Come all the way up to extended Tadasana. We're reaching your hands above your head, palms together at the top. And as we exhale, we're going to sit down into our garland squat. Think in this garland squat about getting your tailbone to the floor, your chair towards the floor, so you're never going to touch the floor, although some of you might. And chest nice and lifted, roll those shoulders back and down, eye gaze forward. If your heels are off the floor, you can absolutely hang out there, or maybe support them with a block or a pillow. And you can take a few pulses just to kind of limber the hips into this pose for a few breaths. Using those elbows to push the knees apart and pull the chest through. And then maybe even take a few twists. Again, just mobilizing those hips, opening them up, getting them ready for that full lotus pose. One more each side. And then maybe just come back to center. Continue with a few pulses or just take a few static breaths. And then inhale as you come all the way up, step the feet back together, exhale, release and shake it all out. We're going to come back down into a seated position now for rock the baby. So I'm going to twizzle to face you. For this pose, we're just simply going to take one of our legs and hook the elbow around, so same leg, the elbow goes around the knee, and then you're going to take the other hand and that foot goes into the crook of the elbow on the other arm. You're then going to interlace your fingers together if you can and just rock the hip. So you're keeping in a nice seated upright position and you're just rocking the hip joint as if you're rocking a baby, hence why it's called rock a baby, for a couple of rotations on each leg. So just really just ease work into it. Spend as much time as you need here. If you're particularly stiff, you'll be surprised how quick this loosens, so just take some time. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. It helps alleviate any stress or tension within the body if you breathe in that way. And then we'll switch sides. So just release that foot from that arm and then switch over to the other leg. So maybe you want to start actually by putting the foot in the crook of the opposite elbow first and then hooking that other arm around the knee, interlacing the fingers and finding that position, opening up that hip. Actually feels quite nice, this one. So enjoy it, work into it, feel where your tightnesses are, and then maybe spend a bit more time on those. And keep that chest nice and lifted as you do this. And then just a few more breaths, and then whenever you're ready, just relax that foot. From here, we're going to go into a seated figure of four. So you've just kind of mobilized and limbered up that stretch. We're going to now hold it as a static hold. So keeping the left foot grounded on the floor, we're going to take the right ankle over the left knee. Taking our hands behind us, we're going to scoot our bums in towards our foot, our left foot. Reaching up toward the chest, so really think nice and on spine, and reach that chest towards the shin of that right leg. Get as close as you can and just hold for 5 deep breaths. Last deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then slowly pull yourself out of the stretch by sliding the bum back, uncrossing the leg, and then switching sides. So left ankle comes across right knee. Set yourself up again. Work your way in towards that heel with the bum. And see if you can reach that chest towards that shin. And again, just 5 deep breaths on this side. Last deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then just scoot yourself back out. Work out how to get out the way that you came in. And just shake off the legs. So the goal of today's session is to work into Lotus Pose. So for many, even just sitting in a cross-leg position like this can be quite a mobility challenge for you. So if that is the case, let's just focus on that for today. So just spend some time as I'm going through this with the variations, but rather than pulling the foot through and on top, just sit in this cross-leg position. You might want to spend some time, for those of you that really struggle with that, in bound ankle pose. So soles of the feet together, hold the feet like a book, wiggle your bum or your crutch in towards your heels, and just butterfly the legs out to the side while keeping nice and lifted. From there, you could then just fold the body forwards, using the elbows against the inner calf muscles to push the legs open as you reach the nose over the toes, and that will help open up the hips. So if that's you, feel free to just spend your time while I demonstrate the rest doing that. If you are comfortable in this cross-legged position, let's start to work our way into Lotus. So taking the left leg first, we're going to take that sole of the foot and place it kind of the outside edge of the foot towards the hip crease, and let the sole of the foot go up, and the top of the foot is going to just hang out there on top of that right thigh. So see if you can get nice and lifted. See if you can then push that knee, start pushing that knee towards the floor to find that stretch in the outer side of your ankle. So keep shuffling around and loosening it. You might then want to start to creep that right leg out so that you've got that space to get your knee all the way to the floor. We'll just take 3 deep breaths here. And of course, if you find any pain at all during this, just come straight out, shake it off, stop, don't go back there. Last deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then just slowly release that foot from that position, and we're going to switch sides. So the right foot now is going to find itself in the crease of the left hip, so sole up. The top of the foot is on your thigh, and you're just going to work at getting that knee down toward the ground. Again, find that nice upright position, and 3 deep breaths. And you might just want to adjust it as you go through those breaths, just easing a little bit deeper into that stretch. One last deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then relax and shake it all out. So we just rotate the ankles a few times to relax them. You're probably feeling this in the ankles, those of you especially like me that have poor ankle mobility. Too much running and twisting them over the years, I think. Okay, so now we're going to work. So you've just done half Lotus, that's what that one is called. We're going to work into full Lotus. Some of you might get there, some of you won't. Don't worry. You might find one day you can get there really easily and one day you can't. Bodies change from day to day, that's perfectly normal. Don't push yourself. Do what your body feels is comfortable to do today, but not to the point of pain. So you want to be on the edge of kind of uncomfortable but not painful is what we're aiming for in all these sort of mobility stretching workouts to increase the depth of movement range. So we're going to start with the left foot on top of the right thigh to begin with, as we warm that one up first. So find that same hip crease position. Take the right leg then. So the best way to do this is think about pushing that left knee towards the floor and then seeing if you've then got space to bring that right leg all the way up and over and come into full Lotus Pose. We're just going to take 5 deep breaths here. You're over halfway now, just 2 more deep breaths to go. One more. And then just slowly help yourself out of that pose. So you might just slide that left ankle through. Shake out the ankles again, because that's quite tough on them. Rotate them, give them a bit of a, however you need to, just get them nice and loose, so especially your left. This time we're going to start with the right leg on top of the left. So left leg is going to go under, right side of the foot comes up. So with all things yoga, you need balance. So what you do on one side, you do the other side. If you're in your crisscross leg positions, I should have said at the start, switch the way that you cross your legs around in your standard seated leg, crisscross leg position. So make sure you do the same amount of time on both sides. So bringing the sole of that right foot or the heel in towards the groin, finding that setup with the knee towards the floor, and you might find one side is different to the other, and then you are going to lift that left foot up and over, and I don't know, I'm just going to get there today, that it's quite painful, so I'm going to come out and just spend some time on that side. So just rotate the ankle. If you get like that, like I've just found, one side is always much tighter than the other. Just spend some time, go back to that half lotus position and spend some time there. And we'll just take 5 deep breaths. So if you manage to get that foot all the way up and over, then great, well done guys. Stay there for 5 deep breaths. If you didn't, just spend some time in just the half lotus position and relax out there. So we're probably over halfway now. 2 more deep breaths. One more deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then just relax. Release the feet, shake them off, rotate them. So guys, well done for those of you who got into Lotus today. Congratulations, that's really hard, especially if you suffer with ankle or hip mobility. For those of you that have struggled with that pose in the past, maybe you found that you've got a little bit further today due to the warm-up that we did. But keep working on that pose, keep working on your ankle mobility, your hip mobility. Those are the things that are going to get you into there. And keep practicing, guys. Hopefully I'll see you again on the mat soon. Bye!